Welcome back to Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. I'm James, your co-host, and this is episode 29. We're continuing our journey through hell in Katabasis by R.F. Kuang, and this week we're covering chapters 8 through 14. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Miranda, who's here to catch us up on her week and her current reads. Miranda?
Hello. Let's see. My week. I've just been settling into Albuquerque, to the New Mexico life.
I didn't know you were in Albuquerque.
You didn't know I was in Albuquerque?
I mean, I knew you were in New Mexico, but I didn't know you were in Albuquerque.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can go see Walter White's house and take a picture of it.
I could do that. I could.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Do you want me to go take a picture of Walter White's house?
I'm just kidding. People do that, though. I think it bothers the people that own the house now. It's so much.
I'm sure it does. It would bother me. So just settling into Albuquerque life, but it's nice so far. No complaints. I am going to be on the hunt for a job this week. So that's my goal this week, is to apply to as many places as possible, get myself working. Other than that, I've just been kind of like chilling. I had to unpack. All my stuff came in last Friday, so I had to unpack all of that and put it everywhere. Went to the farmer's market on Saturday. Chilling. Been going to the gym. That's about it. I read maybe like a chapter or two of my Olga Dies Dreaming book. I didn't get a chance to read too much of it because we recorded late last week, so I was reading a lot of Katabasis the past few days. But yeah, that's about it. It's slow out here in the desert. Not like what I've been used to the past 5 years, but it's nice. It's hot. It's
Right,
dry.
It's not New York City, bustling city life, right?
No, it's really dry out here. So yeah, that's about it. How's your week?
Same old for me. You know, was busy at work today. Wasn't even sure I was going to be able to record the podcast today. But other than that, pretty much the same old at work. And then reading, not very much at all. Just this book, really. I've been spending my time still watching Babylon 5, which is going to take a while. 5 seasons. And drawing a big map. Like a big map. It's like I'm drawing it on I think it's like 18 by 24 inch piece of paper. It's a big map for my campaign world.
Wow.
So yeah, been working on that.
Cool.
Learning how to draw forests and mountains and things like that on there.
Wow, love that.
Yeah. So I've got it all penciled out. Now I got to do all the inking with the pen. So trying to get it done as quick as possible.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's about it for me. Watched NASCAR race over the weekend, and football. Football started this past weekend, so had to watch the Bucks game, which was nail biting. They barely won. The only reason it didn't go to overtime is because the Atlanta kicker missed a field goal in the last seconds. Typical Buck ball. Yeah. So that's about it for me. I guess we can move on to the book, and first you can give us the recap.
Okay. All right. So last time we started the book. Alice Law and Peter Murdoch journey to hell to bring back their professor and advisor, Jacob Grimes, who has died in a magic accident. No one knows this, but Alice is at fault for his death. Once in hell, they start in the fields where souls or shades are wandering around, avoiding being reincarnated. In the fields, they meet a couple of Grimes' old students who died in a failed experiment and are reluctant to give up their identities as magicians. Alice and Peter find out from one of them that Grimes has hurried his way out of the fields and is making his way fast through hell to be reincarnated. So Alice and Peter leave the fields by climbing over a dangerous wall that Alice is skilled in doing while Peter is not. They make it over the wall, rest, and collaborate on a map and route through hell. The first level is Pride and looks a lot like a library on a college campus to them. Shades here are trying to find the meaning of the good. They meet George Edward Moore, who has deemed himself dean of the place and tries to convince them to stay. He is a yapper, so Alice distracts him with a logic problem, and they move on to go to the next level. Once they leave Pride, though, they come across the river Lead. Alice sees Mang Po and almost walks into the river entranced, but Peter saves her. They keep walking. But then they are attacked by 3 skeletal dog-like creatures, and Peter is injured. The creatures seem to be made of chalk, and Alice is suspicious a magician is behind this and is watching her and Peter. And that's kind of where we left off.
That is where we left off.
Yeah.
All right. And moving forward, we're in chapter 8. So this entire chapter was just a big discussion about chalk.
Right.
Which I found completely stupid. Alice and Peter discover that chalk doesn't work in hell, and Alice nearly gives up, but musters the determination to continue.
Well, I mean, that's their whole, she says, like, we're not fully reliable on it, but it sounds like they are.
Right. Yeah, so if chalk doesn't work, none of their magic is going to work. And so now they feel like, or at least Alice was feeling like, it ain't,
Right.
it ain't going to be what she thought it was going to be down here. She thought she would have her magic to rely on.
Right. And then they also both packed a bunch of chalk. So that's just a lot of room
For no
they
reason.
have now.
Yeah.
For no reason, for no chalk.
But this chapter was a little more than that. It was like the difference between this type of chalk and that type of chalk, which I just really did not care about.
I would venture to say most of the chapters in this chunk were a little blah.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to stay focused, this chunk of reading.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it.
All right. Chapter 9. Alice and Peter arrive at Desire, where they witness various forms of debauchery. Overwhelmed, Alice has a breakdown and flees the scene. As she escapes, she recalls a moment in Italy when Grimes asked her what she truly wanted. Oh, God, we're going back into Babylon 5 here. Because that's like one of the... So you have in the whole Babylon 5 universe, it's the Vorlons versus the Shadows. They're like the 2 oldest races. One of them asks, "What do you want?" And the other one asks, "Who are you?" So the bad guys are the one that ask, "What do you want?" So once back in the dunes, a storm brews ominously. And as we know, rain in literature is never merely rain. They face it can mean a lot of different things. But in this case, it foreshadows some bad stuff happening. They face an attack from a larger group of bone chalk creatures. Alice quickly grabs some water from the Leth river and throws it at the creatures, which repels them. However, the creatures retaliate by swarming her, causing both Alice and the attackers to tumble into the river.
Dun, dun, dun.
Chapter 10. After falling into the Leth, Alice emerges with her memories intact. When Peter questions this, she reveals a pentagram tattoo that Grimes gave her in Italy that prevents memory loss. They begin reminiscing about Grimes and the cruel things he's done to them, though strangely they don't perceive his actions as harmful, suggesting a form of Stockholm Syndrome.
Right, and that, which really reminded me of being a theater major in college, because we put up with a lot of questionable things. That was just part of being a theater major. So I feel like she's commentating on that, because it's rough being in college, especially when you're in such a narrowed down focus in something and you are really close to your professors, because you're also still in your early 20s, which, like, they're probably in their mid-ish 20s since they're in, I guess, graduate school of some sort. But still, like, that at that age, especially when you're so hyper-focused on this one thing and doing this one thing and trying to please your professors, you do start to kind of get that Stockholm syndrome, and you do kind of, like, I don't know, it's a weird thing. So I feel like that's kind of what she's commentating on there. You'll do pretty much anything, even if it seems unethical.
Right.
Or dismiss them saying certain things because they know better or something like that. It was interesting that they were talking all this stuff, and then they were just like, Grimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grimes.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. So while taking shifts to guard and sleep, Alice discovers some of Peter's notes indicating his plan to trade her soul for Grimes' soul, effectively trapping her in hell.
Right, which I don't believe. My theory is that Peter was planning to trade his soul.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to believe.
Yeah, because she's jumping to conclusions.
At least at that point.
Yeah, well, she's jumping to conclusions because in his notes it said if Alice and then a dash and then it stops.
Didn't it have a question mark too? I thought it did. Maybe not.
Maybe it did. I don't know. And that could mean so many different things.
Right. Yeah, she's definitely jumping to conclusions here.
And for me, it kind of feels like it was more of like if Alice tells me not to, or if Alice tries to fight it, or if Alice whatever. Because I really think that I don't think that he would do that. I think that he has the idea to kind of be a sacrificial person. The word. Sacrificial lamb.
Right.
So that's my theory. That's my theory.
I didn't really have a theory at that point, but then maybe that might have changed later when something else happened toward the end of this section. Chapter 11, Alice reminisces about the first time she met Peter. Personally, I think she's secretly in love with him. At this point, we weren't sure, but I think that's pretty much what it is, as we find out a little later on.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't think that she wants to be, but...
No, but she is.
Yeah. But even then, I think she's still, even later on, I'm kind of like, she's still trying to convince herself that she's not, or that she doesn't need it or want it or whatever.
But this chapter was pretty, I didn't like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory in this chunk of chapters, and I was kind of like, that's not what I want. I want them to be in hell. I want more of hell, you know? We're already I'm
gonna need some more cow hell.
I am. Well, once we finish with this section, we're almost halfway through, and they've only been to 2 levels.
Yeah, we're only 2/5 through. Still got a good chunk to go.
I felt like we're almost halfway through. Once we get through half of the next chunk, we're halfway through.
Oh, half of the next chunk, yes, we'll be halfway.
Yeah, so we're pretty.
I didn't know that's what you said.
Yeah, we're pretty far in, so I'm kind of like, why have we only gone through 2 levels of hell? And then, I don't think that the backstory is that interesting either.
No. All right.
No. Okay.
No. I'm just not interested in the love story part of this. I want to know more about the hell as well.
Yeah, I need more action and adventure.
Because I don't really like these characters that much, to be honest. I'm a character person. Like one of my favorite books are the Farseer trilogy, which has absolutely no action in it. I mean, it is not an action book or an action trilogy in any of them, but it's all about that character build up and having empathy with the characters, which I do not have with either one of these 2.
Well, see, because I like when action pushes the character to change, I guess. You know, I feel like action should be used to develop character, and we're getting those kind of separately, and we're getting a lot of backstory on these characters as opposed to them just being focused on in real time and that developing their character and us learning things from that. She's paused here in this chunk of chapters to kind of go back, which I said in last time, I was like, it's really cool that she just jumped into them going to hell. And then little did I know the next chapter, she was going to go back and give us all that exposition that I didn't necessarily need in chunks like that. Would have been nice if it was just kind of spilling out over time.
Right.
As opposed to backstory.
And when I say Farseer has no action, because it's a fantasy book, I'm talking about a whole lot of fighting and sword fighting and junk like that. It's all political intrigue, which is action in a way that builds the characters. Mm-hmm. So, anyway.
Yeah, I don't mean action as in all of that either. I just mean can we move the plot forward? The plot's not being moved forward because we've gone back
in time. So,
yeah. So I'm no, I need more of the plot moving forward.
Okay. All right. Chapter 12. Oh, starting this one off good. A slow-paced chapter that culminates when they encounter the Weaver Girl, a goddess of love who presents them with a dilemma. Each must make a choice. If they choose the same option, all will be well. But if they choose differently, at least one of them will face consequences. And I found this chapter particularly tedious.
Well, this is when I thought it was getting interesting. Finally, it's like, great, we've come up with another character in hell, and they're in hell. Let's keep moving. But how did the chapter start? Remind me. Do you remember? Or you
How
were
this
that
chapter started?
uninterested? Yeah. Why was it so tedious at the beginning?
I'm trying to remember. I honestly don't remember why, but it just seemed so tedious because she just kept on and on, back and forth between them, and I don't know. There was something that happened in the middle of this. Like, didn't she reminisce again about something and why she picked what she picked? We don't even find out what she picks in this chapter.
I don't know. I was just happy that finally we're back in hell and we're getting some actors and we have like a different character involved
here. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I don't know. It kind of just fell flat for me for some reason. Because there was a bunch of mumbo jumbo about which one she should pick in her head, I think.
Yeah, well, because she's confused because she thinks he's gonna betray her in the end.
Right.
And they talked about which one to choose first, and he was like, we just have to pretend like we're in love. And so
right. I think that was also part of it. Yeah, because they talked first and decided, let's just act like we're in love with each other. So that's the one we should pick, which obviously means they would pick the red apple.
Right.
Which we'll see what happens.
Right. But I mean, I think that whole point was that this whole idea of like, she doesn't know what to do because she believes that he's trying to betray her. So she doesn't trust him. So she
saw his notes
with that.
Yeah. Right. She saw his notes, which made her think he was going to betray her possibly. So she wasn't sure which one to pick.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was just fed up with all the other chapters before this one. That kind of bled into this one.
Sure. I didn't talk about, I forgot though, because you didn't really touch on it in your outline, but the whole idea of her like remembering everything. Let's go back to that.
Sure.
I did want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because she has this tattoo now, she can remember everything. And it's terrible for her. It's actually quite awful that she can remember everything, to the point where it's like she can't even discern what is what, because she sees something in front of her and she has to go through all of these different things from her memory to like know what it is. You know, this idea that having this amazing memory is actually really detrimental to her. And it goes back to, because when she's looking at the wall and she's talking about like how hard it is for her to focus, it's because she can remember everything and her brain can't, because her brain remembers all of this, it's like it can't focus on the one thing, which I thought was a really interesting concept.
Yeah, she's having a hard time with that because there's a lot going on in her head because of that.
Like her head, it's like her brain doesn't actually have the capacity to hold all of the information that she has. I've just never thought about it like that. I just thought that was cool that it's like she can't, like, it takes her a second to focus on something and remember what the name is of it, even though she's supposed to have this like amazing memory. It like takes her a while because she remembers too much, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought was cool and will probably come back and bite her in the ass. But I just thought that was like I thought that was like a cool thing of these chapters. I was like, okay, that's a cool concept that is going to be interesting to explore the rest of the book. So I just wanted to go back and talk about that.
Yeah, because I didn't put that in there, but that is important, I think, and will probably be important going forward, which means she can just take a dive in the river and be fine.
Right, which she didn't know until it happened. She came back and how do you remember everything? And then we got to that trauma, which also was crazy, like Professor Grimes doing that experiment and then essentially using her, and how it was probably supposed to be Peter.
Right, you're right. It was supposed to be
Peter was supposed to go, because Peter was supposed to go to
right, because he was supposed to go to Italy with him, and when he couldn't, he asked Alice.
To go. So it could have been Peter.
And that brought up something else, because there was a part in here somewhere where Alice was like, how she wouldn't do this, that, or the other, but she was killing animals.
Right.
Which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. They were doing animal experiment. That's why he went to
experimenting
Italy.
on animals. Right.
Yeah. So
and she was the one that had to like kill the animal when it didn't work or whatever. Right. And get rid of the body.
Right.
So, yeah, fuck that. That's pretty gross.
And then Peter had to steal a dead person's colon. Right?
Oh, yeah. He stole a few, actually, I think he said.
He stole a few. Collection of dead people's colon.
Yeah, that was for some other project Grimes had him
Yeah.
on. So yeah, this Grimes dude is fucked up.
He's an evil scientist. He's an evil magician.
Yeah.
And they're just like in hell trying to go get him back.
Yeah. All right, chapter 13. This chapter explores Alice and Peter's collaboration on a project. They work well together, during which Alice develops romantic feelings for Peter. However, after the project concludes, Peter shows little interest in Alice, ignoring her attempts to communicate. Frankly, I couldn't care less about this storyline, which we've already talked about. I don't find these characters particularly compelling or likable at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like we just don't. Yeah, I don't even know what it is. It's just I feel like we keep going back and forth a little bit too much, almost, that I'm kind of getting like jumbled and lost. And I think that's why I couldn't really concentrate on these chapters, because I was like, where even are we at this point? Where are we? Where are we in time? Why aren't we in hell? What's going on? Yeah, and they're just like college students. So it's just kind of like annoying. I mean, I think Peter is interesting because she can't really like figure him out. Well, and maybe it's this chapter, one of the earlier chapters, where she overhears him allegedly talking bad about her, because he's talking to this guy and he's like, oh, how's Grimes? He's like, Grimes is Grimes. And the guy's like, what about the girl? He's like, the girl's not a problem, like blah, blah, blah. And he makes like a lewd kind of like, she doesn't see it, but she hears like hand smacking against hand, I guess, to imply he's making some sort of sexual gesture. And then that's what kind of turns her off from him. And that's where she really is like, wow, he's just the same as everybody else, I guess. So it'd be interesting to hear. I mean, I'm sure that's going to come back up again, because she loves to jump to conclusions, although I would have jumped to the same conclusion in that situation too. But from what we've gotten from Peter so far, he doesn't really seem like that kind of guy, although they never do. Sometimes they don't seem like that kind of guy, but then they are. So I'm curious to see how that is all going to come back too, because we have these kind of conflicting ideas of Peter, because we have what's going on in her perception of Peter back then and also right now, because she thinks he's going to betray her, versus like what we're actually getting and how he's saying things like, then we do go back to like when he gets that boner in the last section. He's like, I want you to know that I respect you. I respect you. I respect you. It's like, is he overcompensating for something that maybe he did say before? Maybe he was trying to play into the boys club and now he regrets it. So I think like that's all going to come up at some point too, because I think maybe and he is also privileged versus she wasn't so privileged. So I'm wondering if maybe he just was kind of going through his motions at one point, playing the game, and then maybe something happened with Grimes, and then he was like, why he didn't go to Italy, and now he's turned a new leaf. Maybe that's why that kind of would support my theory of like, no, like I came down here to help Alice and I'm going to trade my soul for his soul so that she can be successful. That's kind of where I'm going with that. That's my guess. That's my theory. Okay. However, at the same time, do I think that that's particularly interesting? Not really. I almost feel like it's like predictable. I feel like I've just predicted the whole book. I mean, we'll see. But I feel like
that seems too predictable for what's going to end up happening, though.
You think? All right. Well, I hope so. I genuinely hope so. Like, I genuinely hope, because I feel like I've read that book many times. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've read that book a lot. So I genuinely hope that there's a better twist, or there's like something that's going to happen. Right now, though, from all of this buildup that I'm getting, I'm kind of like, okay, this feels like something like that.
But yeah, like I said, I don't really care for either of these characters, because I mean, I don't think they're great people. I think Peter's kind of boring. Maybe not as boring as the one guy from that other book with the moon. What was that book? I thought the guy was really boring.
Oh, yeah. Water Moon.
I don't think he's as boring as that guy, but he's kind of boring. And then Alice is just, I didn't like the whole killing the animals thing. It kind of just made me think bad about her.
Well, that's R.F. Kuang's whole MO. Every character she's ever written, I feel like, has been very much this like moral gray area character. Yeah. She doesn't really write. I feel like she's only ever wrote characters who are morally gray.
Yeah, that's true.
And who you don't really like, because I don't know if you've read the Poppy War trilogy, but I read the Poppy War trilogy, and that main character is not likable. You do not root for her. I did not root for her. entire time. She was
Right.
annoying. She was boring. She complained a lot. She was morally gray. She flip-flopped a lot because of that. Babel, again, a lot of more morally gray characters in
Yeah.
Babel too. Even Yellowface.
Yellowface too.
Them were
Definitely
both
both of those
morally gray.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of those characters were pretty morally gray as well, especially the main evil character in Yellowface.
Yeah. So that's just R.F. Kuang's MO. She writes these very morally gray characters, which sometimes is interesting. Like I felt like in Yellowface it was cool because it wasn't fantasy, so it felt a lot like, yeah, like people truly do act that way. And even I genuinely enjoyed Babel. And then at the end, I liked the end of Babel too, because it was like, yes, he was a bit morally gray, but you still rooted for him at the same time. I feel like she did a good job of making him morally gray, but a little more likable and more like you want him to succeed, because he does end up kind of like being like, wait a minute, this is all kind of fucked up.
Right. I can't remember. His name was Robin, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Either. It's been a couple years, but yeah. So that's just kind of what she does. She writes these, and honestly, yeah, Alice does remind me a bit of the main character in
Yellowface
War trilogy.
Poppy War.
Poppy War trilogy. Rin, I think, is her name.
I haven't read Poppy War. That's the only ones I haven't read of hers.
Yeah, it's like they're a tough read.
I've heard mixed reviews on them.
Yeah,
that's why I've never read them.
Again, it's kind of like this. It's like sometimes you're like, wow, this is really compelling and the plot's moving forward really nice. And then other times you're like, this is the slowest book I've ever read in my entire life. But that'll happen like 3 or 4 different times in one book. And it's not fun. And it's not fun. But yeah, kind of same thing. Like this character, Rin, she's just trying to prove herself and all this stuff. And at the same time, like she's making bad decisions, but also trying to fight for the greater good type of situation. It's interesting. So it's kind of reminding me of that, honestly.
All right. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know about this book yet.
I don't know either. I had the first section, I was like, all right, I feel good. And then that's how it goes. And then this section, I was like, I can't even focus. It's too much.
It happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems to.
Well, and I think I almost was thinking to him, like, it's hard to read in chunks too, because because I feel like maybe if I had been able to read it through, because I probably would have been done with this book in 2 or 3 days. And sometimes I'm like, if I was able to read it through the whole way, the way that I wanted to at my pace, maybe it wouldn't feel that way, because then it would be kind of like spread out differently. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I can see that too.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll never know because this is how we're reading the book. But sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I had just kept like reading through, it wouldn't have felt like it slowed down so much, because then, I don't know, because then I would have gone at a different pace. Or I would have been like, all right, get through, and then got back to the exciting part again.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who's to see? I don't know. That's just a theory that isn't really easy to test because I'm already doing it in chunks.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Chapter 14. Peter chose red and Alice chose green. So they were choosing between 2 apples. They each had a red and a green apple. And if they chose the same, everything's cool. If they chose different, some bad shit was going to happen to at least one of them. So this meant that the Weaver girl would take Peter while Alice was free to go. And as the girl... Go ahead.
Sorry, it's just interesting there because Alice chose green and she was like, wait a minute, I didn't choose. I didn't pick, like, you know, because she was going through all the stuff in her brain first, and then all of a sudden she had the green apple. In her perception, she had the green apple in her hand, but she was like, I didn't make this choice. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she like freaks out, which I was kind of like, okay, is she?
But if she had it in her hand, then she made the choice.
Well, I know,
subconsciously.
Right, but like that's what I'm saying. Did she make the choice subconsciously and she's trying to convince herself that she didn't, or did something happen where she actually didn't make that choice and maybe she was under some kind of something or another? I don't know. I thought that was because she was like, I hadn't made up my mind yet, and all of a sudden the apple was in her hand. So I wonder what that disconnect was. I wonder if it was she did make up her mind and she was like, you know, sometimes again, more morally gray things, you do something bad and then you try to convince yourself that you didn't actually do something bad.
Right.
Because your brain doesn't want to believe that you would do something like that. So I'm kind of wondering, was it that, or is there something else a little more nefarious going on here?
But anyway, she chose green, or at least that's what she had in her hand.
Uh-huh.
So that means that the Weaver girl gets to take Peter and Alice gets to go. And as the girl is wrapping Peter up in a cocoon, they were suddenly attacked by chalk-bone dog creatures again. The creatures tore through Peter's cocoon. Then, surprisingly, the creatures nuzzled under both Peter and Alice and carried them off like they were on a bed. They transported the pair to the shore of the Lethe River, where a boat and boatman awaited. The boatmen fought off the creatures while Peter and Alice boarded the boat and pushed away from shore just as the Weaver girl arrived. And that's where we ended.
Whoa, wait, what? I missed all of that. The bone creatures transported them to the shore?
Yeah. It really, the way it was written, it really sounded like they were only transporting Alice to the shore.
Uh-huh.
But Peter was there too when they finally got there. So I assumed they transported both of them to the shore. Then there was the boatman in the boat, right?
Yeah, I remember
And
the
then
boat.
he fought off he had a big, like a staff, and he fought off the bone creatures.
Right.
And then as they got in the boat and started to push away down the river, the Weaver girl arrived, and the boatman was like laughing at her and said that she was going to be in trouble with the big man.
Oh, right. Okay. So, yes, I see now. I'm at that paragraph. I missed that. Must have blanked out. But maybe it's also because the way it was written was from her point of view, and she really was like, what's going on? She didn't really know what was happening.
Right.
You know, like she thought she was going to be attacked. She was waiting to be attacked. And then all of a sudden she's in front of the river. Okay.
No, because it said that all of a sudden the creature started nuzzling under her. It's in there. I know that word nuzzle is in there. And then it carried her off like a bed because that was in there as well.
Should come quick, perhaps. And then the rest is like, but the pain never came. 1,000 tiny pressure snouts digging in to her beneath her. Suddenly they lifted her up. Some scurried beneath her to make a bone of beds. Then off they went at a dizzying pace. Forward advance. I don't see nuzzle at all, but
okay. Well, that's what they did.
But yes. Yeah, but she still was anticipating them to attack her.
Yeah. But that's not what happened.
I know, but in that moment when you're so scared out of your mind and you're anticipating attack and yet that's not happening, it takes your brain a second to realize that that's not what's happening. And I don't know if she ever really did realize that they weren't trying to attack her, because that's how psychology works.
But it says right in the book they didn't attack her. They carried her there. And then when they got there...
I understand that that's what the book says. That's not what she was thinking in her brain.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know, because it doesn't tell us what she's thinking.
It does. It says she anticipated them attacking her, and she writhed, but it was pointless. And like she didn't know where they were going. She didn't really understand what was happening. But she's still scared. And it's not like she's like, oh, wait, I'm being transported. Oh my God. No, she's like, what the fuck is going on? And she's scared that they will attack her, because then you have this man who shows up, which I'm excited about. This man, he's giving Pirate, the boatman.
Yeah.
You're not excited about him?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, it gives me like Greek. It gives me like Greek kind of mythology sort of stuff with the boatman, like the boatman of the river Styx or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Well, it says a ragtag pirate from no era or nation. Well, and she says that he seems like he's a human, right? He seems
Karen is his name.
So I'm
thinking of.
I'm excited to find out what his story is. I was like, oh, well, now I don't want to stop. I want to keep reading. Because I was like, this pirate guy sounds really cool. I'm excited.
Right. We went through
and he like has a mister to spray off the bone creatures.
Oh,
so
right.
He already knows like how to handle them.
Like it's a cat, like they're cats or something.
Yeah. So he's like figured out already how to fight them. So I'm like, how long has he been in there? What are these creatures? What's going on? So I'm interested to find out about him.
Yep, but we stopped.
And then also he like knows about the Weaver girl because they don't like each other.
Right.
And then she's just kind of like, okay, whatever, good luck. I know. I was like, well, damn. Then it got exciting.
Yep. But our chunk is over. Have to wait till next week.
Yeah, I'm excited about this pirate guy because we all know I love pirates. And I'm Excited to find out where he come from because they describe him as very human-like. So I wonder, like, what his story is.
Yeah.
Was he already? Is he a deity, or did he go down there in search of something and just decided to stay in hell?
I don't know. We'll find out hopefully next week.
And we'll find out next week. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. Thanks for joining us as we work through chapters 8 through 14 of Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. Next week, we'll be covering chapters 15 through 21, so read ahead and come back ready to discuss. In the meantime, don't forget to connect with us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and in our Discord. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening and happy reading.
Our intro music is Upbeat Funk, performed by Mikhail Smusev, and our outro music is Lo-Fi Chill, medium version, performed by Bodan Kuzman. You can find both tracks on pixabay.com. Thanks for joining us, family, and we'll see you next week.